Madhouse bar talk, where the drinks stay spittin'. Views going wild like a monkey gone rogue, running his own lane in a circus of smoke. Tito hit the eject, dipped out the scene. Jimmy steered the chaos, kept it lean and mean. No co-pilot needed. He thrives in the clash, controversies, the stash, raking views with a dash. Madness on the mic, sipping truth like it's gin. Every episode's a fight. Who's the champ of the spin? Randoms on the stool, spill tales from the void. Jimmy plays the villain, but the people stay buoyed. Solo flight, no wingman, just the heat. Questions unscripted, got him squirm in the seat. Joe Rogan whispers, but Jimmy got roar. Clickbait machetes hacking straight to the core. Bar feels alive when the topics get steamy. Listeners keep clicking, saying this fool's dreamy. Drama be the fuel, chaos be the plan. Welcome to the Madhouse, hosted by one madman. Podcast is a wrestling ring, Jimmy's the champ. Randoms get grilled under the ring light lamp. Got foes and fans, but the numbers don't lie. Keep it raw and uncut till the Wi-Fi dies.
All right. Today we're going to have a special guest, Jeff Simmons. I grew up with Jeff. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
What's up, Jimmy? Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, right on.
I appreciate you coming up. So you wanted to come on. You reached out to me because you wanted to talk about your sobriety journey.
Yeah, and and talk a lot about the recovery process. How it's a lot of recovery. There's a lot of mental health along with the drinking and drugging. A lot of mental health goes along with that.
Do you think that you had mental health that you started treating yourself with alcohol, or do you think alcohol caused mental health?
Alcohol
issues?
caused me problems.
Well, yeah, but do you think that it caused the mental health issues, or do you think you had those and was masking them?
I masked a lot of that stuff. What I came across was I not only had a drinking and drug problem, I had a thinking problem. So when things would come my way, instead of dealing with them, face to face, man up to them, I would just dodge them. I would drink. That was my way of avoiding.
Yeah, you got a problem, go get yourself good and drunk. Be a man.
Be a man. You work hard, you play hard.
Right.
And it just got to a point where, I drank every day for 25 years. That's what I did. That was just me.
Every day you drink?
Every day.
Every day, really?
Every day.
Wow. Did you just drink at home too?
No. I drink at home as well as out and about, but I chose to be out and about. That's how I ended up getting my 3 DUIs and, accidents and everything else, because I couldn't stay put.
See, I've never drank at home, really. I've always felt like if I drink at home, that's where it's gone too far.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like when I do it, it's for social, I like to I just go out and do a social thing. But my dad, I don't know if you knew this or not, my dad was a bad alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like bad.
Right.
Like he drank every damn day.
Right. We grew up in the same neighborhood, so, we knew each other real well.
Yeah. I would go with him to work in the summer. From the time I was probably like 11 doing roofs and stuff, he would literally get in the car, drive to the drive-thru and get a quart of Miller. Get halfway through it, puke out the door, and just keep going for the day. And just lunch break, drink, break. Just drank all day. He never stopped. Yeah. And he was like that my whole life. He was like that.
Well, the last 5 years of my drinking, I knew I was an alcoholic. I knew at that point. Everybody had been telling me that, but I finally, just to pacify people, yeah, you're right. I'm not bothering nobody. I'm just drinking my beer. Leave me alone, And then it just got to the point where when you're an alcoholic and you're still doing it, then that's whenever the drinking at home became normal. When I got my 3rd DUI, I had that Intoxilock and all that in my truck, so I couldn't drink and drive.
Right.
So I would drink at home. And then I would drink at home.
Did you ever try to get somebody to blow into it for you?
No, because I had a camera.
So it did?
Yeah,
okay.
It had a
I always
camera.
wondered, because I forget years ago, it was a long time ago, but somebody was trying to get somebody, not at the bar, this was before I owned a bar. Somebody was trying to get somebody to blow into it for him, and they're like, no, hell no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and then the thing of it is, too, it's like every 15 minutes, you had to blow in that thing.
Oh, really? That's how it works?
Yeah, you had to blow
So you were driving and go,
yeah.
Really?
And I tried to mask that thing so many times, put a bandana around this box, you know? And it always seemed to want to retest whenever I was at like an intersection, sitting at a light, and you just look over all the time, and there I was, just blowing in this box, or go through the intersection, and then there's beeping, and I got to blow in this thing. It was a real.
Did you have to have party plates too?
No,
party
I did.
Plates?
It was either the Intoxilock or the party plates, and I was just like, I'll take the Intoxilock, because they were doing Intoxilock, they were doing the party plates, they were doing the ankle monitor to detect alcohol. They had all them different ways.
Yeah, we had a girl here that worked here that had that ankle monitor. Best bartender we ever had with an ankle monitor. Without, not so much.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that'll stop you real quick.
Oh, yeah. With it, fantastic. Probably, bar none, one of the best. Like personality, like cleanliness, like everything. Just right there.
It's amazing how we are when we're drinking and drugging and when we're sober.
Did you have problems with drugs also?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I liked cocaine a lot. That was
really.
Yeah, and it all started with drinking. I started with drinking beer, and then I do shots, and next thing you know, I'm calling the guy. And it was just
to sober up or whatever.
That's what I would tell myself. Yeah, I gotta sober up. I'm about to go home. I better grab me something. And it just escalated. It was a Friday thing, then it became a Friday, Saturday, and then it became a Wednesday, and then it was Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
I never knew that about you. I would have never guessed that about you.
I tried to hide as much as I could, you know what I mean? And just for the record, I never bought no drugs out of your bar or nothing like that. I never called nobody to meet me here, Yeah. I always had a lot of respect for you.
I never had any inkling that you had a drinking problem until you puked the one time.
Yeah,
you puked in our parking lot.
Yeah, and Hal came out with a glass of water and said, hey, you might want to drink this. You got somebody to call,
Yeah.
And I did. My dad always drank down there in St. Lad's. So I just called my dad because my dad knew, that I was drinking a lot and I was out of control. My parents told me, my mom told me, if you're drinking, don't come over, And if I did, my dad would go medicate. My dad would go take a Xanax. Just because he knew I was coming over, So it got to the point where my family had to medicate themselves just to have me come over.
That's pretty bad. That's bad.
Yeah, that's real bad, man. And it was something that, it just got to the point where things were like getting really out of control. Jimmy, the two hardest years of my life was my last year drinking and my first year of sobriety. They were hard. Because, at one point in my last year of sobriety or my last year of drinking, I didn't like myself, so that depression starts setting in. I wanted to drink by myself. I didn't want to drink with anybody. I just wanted to be left alone, secluded. It got to the point I look at myself in the mirror and I didn't like who I saw, didn't like who I was becoming, I always worked, so I never.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are, what do they call that? Well, there's a name for that. They're
functional alcoholics.
There you go. That's it. Yeah, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
And that's what I considered myself, was a functional alcoholic. But then that last year of my drinking, everything just started going down real fast. I was losing control. I was getting stressed out about everything, and it just got to the point where. Well, the last day I drank, I was here.
No kidding.
No kidding.
The last day you drank, you were here?
It wasn't my last drink, but I was here that day.
Okay.
I went to work, I quit my job, and I was a foreman. I was a foreman at work. So, you don't just go.
I kind of remember that day.
Yeah. I went to work and I went into the front office. It was a hot summer day, and.
Okay, I remember that day. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that was That was the summer after my brother passed, I think.
It was June 20th.
Yeah, it was
June.
right after my brother. I remember that. Yeah, I do remember you coming in saying you quit your job.
Yeah, I quit my job. It was rough, man. Me and the wife weren't getting along. You know, we were arguing all the time. So I was on second shift that week. So I left for work, arguing with the wife, got to work. It was all in my head about, not wanting to do this and do that. And all I wanted to do was drink and just say, forget about it and just forget it.
Right.
So I went in and I went in the front office and went to every office and was like, you know what, I'm out of here. Fuck this, man. I can't do it. I ain't doing it. I worked 14 hours the day before with no lunch. So when I went to the main office, the main guy in the office, and I told him I quit, he was like, wait, give me a minute, because he could tell I was off. And I told him, I said, man, I gave you 14 hours yesterday with no lunch. Fuck you, I ain't doing this, and I left. I left work and got my beer at the local store at the corner, got my beer and just started drinking my beer, and I'm thinking, man, that judge told me if he caught me drinking one more time, I was getting 365 days from the time of the arrest. So if I was going to drink and drive, you better kiss your wife and kids goodbye because you're mine, is what the judge told me.
Okay.
So I knew all this, but I knew I was already drinking and driving just like I was before, and then whenever I left work, I ended up coming up here. Had a couple beers up here, trying to think, like, what am I going to do?
Right.
I was shaking a little bit, the world's coming to an end, So when I got home, the wife told me, she's like, you just need to man up and do your job, because I told her I quit. And when she told me that didn't set well, that really got me really depressed. I figured, man, I'm losing it. I'm losing control, man. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be in this spot. I'm tired of it. So I went downstairs with my shotgun, and I loaded up my shotgun and I sat on my bar stool because, as you know, we spoke. I got a bar downstairs, full bar in my basement, and I sat down there and I put the barrel in my mouth and I couldn't reach the trigger, so I took my shoe off and I used my big toe. I was going to use my toe, and I counted to 3 times, and I couldn't do it. So then I really got depressed.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I took that shotgun, threw it on the pool table. Now I'm just like, I can't even do that right.
Your kids were upstairs? Your wife was upstairs?
My wife was. My kids are grown. They're out of the house.
So nobody was at home?
The wife was. She works from home. So she was home in the office, and I was downstairs, and so I got really frustrated and really depressed because I couldn't even do that right. It was what I was thinking, So then I went upstairs and I had prescription Xanaxes I had prescribed to me. And I didn't really take my prescriptions because I knew I've done it before, taken one and drinking. It was like a whoa. And that I didn't like that feeling. So I knew then, once I went out in the garage and had a couple more beers, pissed off about not being able to do it, I was like, man, I know what I can do. And I went upstairs and I grabbed my prescriptions and I took 28 Xanaxes. Took them, went downstairs, or went out in the garage, and I had the little pills dropping here and there, you know what I mean? And I slammed them down with a beer, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, what the fuck did I just do? Because, once you swallow pills, man, unless you're sticking your finger down your throat, you're done.
Right.
And then I was like, man, I gotta leave. I can't stay here. I gotta go somewhere. So I just started walking. I just started walking down my street, and it got to right to the corner because it's like a bend over on my street. And I was like, man, I got to sit down somewhere because I know this is going to hit me, so I better sit down somewhere. So I found these bushes that were like landscaping by a telephone pole.
Okay.
And I crawled up in them bushes and I just leaned up against that telephone pole and just watched a couple cars go by, and my phone started buzzing. So I looked at my phone and it was my son. And now I'm like, oh, man, and so then I answered the phone. I said, son, fucked up, man. I said, just remember that I love you, but I fucked up, you know. And then I never hung the phone up, and that's all I remember. And then they was able to find me because they was able to ping my location because I never hung the phone up. So that's how they found me. And then
Who found you? The police, ambulance?
the ambulance. I guess the ambulance. I didn't come to for like a day and a half because I was pretty messed up for a while over that, you know.
Yeah.
So and that was my rock bottom. That's when I found out rock bottom had a basement.
Yeah, no shit.
You know,
Jesus.
I mean, yeah, you know, I just was losing control, man. I tried to quit drinking on my own. I tried when I got that third DUI. I figured, okay, now I got to take a look at this, you know, look at this problem that I obviously have, you know. So then, you know, I was drinking NAs, you know, just because I like beer, man. I mean, I've always did. You know, I like the taste of beer. I grew up with beer. You know, I grew up to where you go get dad a beer, you open it and you get the first sip. You know.
Yeah, I remember my grandpa's. I would get to. He had cream ales. I'd put salt. He had salted cream ales.
Yeah.
And we loved it. I mean, we loved it. I don't know, but I never had that. Like my dad was so fucked up as an alcoholic, and I seen so bad what he did that I always stayed away from him. And you know, oddly enough, my brother, the one that overdosed.
Yeah.
When he was young, before he left and went away to college, he wouldn't drink, cuss, nothing, because of the way my dad was. And when he went away to college, he drank at college, which is common. You know what I mean? You're drinking at college,
Right?
And you start to see that not everybody, you know, is retarded when they drink. Like that's how I felt when I started drinking. Eventually, when I started drinking, it was because the friends I knew were. Like, I did it when I was real young. Like, I felt like I was supposed to. Then I stopped.
Yeah,
I never messed with it. You know what I mean? Like, when I worked at Campbell's, I didn't drink.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we worked at Campbell's.
Yeah, when I worked there, I didn't drink by that age. I just did not drink ever. I mean, I had a party at my house once where I drank a little bit, but I never got drunk. With my mom let me have that big party. I don't know if you were there or not. I know, like, Pee Wee and Vic and everybody was there. But It was a big, huge party. But...
Well,
I never really drank.
I heard that name.
And I hadn't drank. And back then, even like Sean didn't drink. I mean, the people I hung out with, we just didn't drink.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of that had to do with my dad. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it had to do with my dad. Because my dad it was bad, dude. My dad would like, I remember him yelling, screaming at my stepmom, where the fuck is the refrigerator? He's going to beat her ass. He's pissed. And she's like, what are you talking about, Rick? You know, she's just trying to compromise with them, you know? And he's like, it was right fucking here. And he's pointing under the coffee table. You know what I mean? She doesn't know what to do. What do you do with somebody like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially my dad. He's angry. He'll beat the fuck out of you. You know what I mean? You got to have an answer for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a good situation at that point. And I mean, I seen that shit. I watched it growing up. You know what I mean? And then my mom was with another guy that drank a lot. Like I never wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't. And then I did drink for a little bit after I met like Mark Blandon and Injure and them because they knew how to drink. They were fine. They were just social drinkers. They weren't like
causing trouble or
nothing.
nothing.
No, they were all like they had their shit together. I'm like, oh, I guess you can drink, and that's kind of I guess what my brother did too. You know what I mean? While he was gone. Because my brother graduated from high school in West Virginia and came up here and went into the Carpenters Union working for my company. And he topped out as a journeyman. And then when my sister went to Marshall University, he visited her and decided he wanted to go to college. So he went to college. And then while he was in college, there was a transfer for Hawaii, and he went to Hawaii. So we weren't around him a lot. We didn't know a lot about what was going on in his life other than the phone calls we would have. But then when he came back, he was definitely on coke, but I didn't think it was sadly, because I always looked at that shit as horrible. Coke. I've never done coke, for the record. Never in my life. I've never done it. I smoked pot when I was young. I even dropped acid once or twice. But I never touched coke. I never touched any like pills. I never did any of that shit. I just never, like, it was just so like Nancy Reagan told us, you know what I mean? I didn't want that skillet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want my brain to be in that skillet. So I mean, that's just how I was. And I seen it with my old man. I seen how he was. He was just like, he was next level. Like, he just could not, like, he was horrible. My dad was horrible. He was a horrible drunk. And, but anyway, so I never was going to drink whatsoever. And then when I did, I decided like the people I was around were okay to socially drink with. You know what I'm saying? And it was okay to do that at that point.
My wife's like that. She can have her wine, you know, or have a couple beers, and she's turning it right off, you know.
I suspect your kids might end up in the same book as I am, where they'll never want to touch it or stay further away from it.
I would like to say so.
They may. You might be shocked. It takes time sometimes.
It does. You know, you're a product of your environment.
Right.
You know, and, you know, my son works for the coroner now, you know. So part of my recovery, which helps me, is my son comes over, you know, and he'll tell me a lot of the stories that, like, he'll go pick somebody up, and man, so many overdoses, suicides, you know, he gets more overdoses and suicides than he does hospice.
Isn't that horrible?
It's horrible.
That's horrible.
You know, and then whenever your son's picking up a buddy of yours, it's like, man, you know, like, this is crazy, you know. And, you know, I've seen quite a few of my buddies. Whenever I was in active using and drinking, you know, I was having buddies just die, you know, like, and it was like, damn, you know. And
well, the downside to not drinking is that your friends and social circle. That's the part that's, I think, the hardest for most people to walk away from.
You know, I thought that too. I thought that was going to be a big thing, you know, like people, places, and things is what they say.
Yeah.
You know, all my partying buddies, they are now acquaintances. There's no hard feelings.
Right.
You know, I've never done nothing to them. They didn't do nothing to me. If I see them, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? We don't really hang out because I don't do what I used to do, and that's what we did.
Sure.
You know, but, you know, as far as like people, places, and things, I found better friends. I don't want to say better. I find more healthier people for me.
Sure.
You know, in rooms of recovery. You know, I find a lot more to where they do things like golfing and fishing and without drinking. Yeah, I didn't know how to go golfing without drinking.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could. Right. I didn't think that was a thing.
How do you go bowling? How do you go bowling without drinking? You're supposed to be loosening up.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I tell you what, my game is consistent now. You know, I can say that. It ain't the best, but it's consistent.
Consistently bad.
It's compared to before. You know, you're shooting good. Next thing you know, you get around the 9th hole. Because when I golf, it was a beer a hole. You know, and then you had the flask going around. Then you had the doobie going around. You know, so it just seems like. And then the places. When I first got sober, I had it rough. Because I didn't know how to handle life on life's terms. Because I was used to fuck it and drink.
Sure.
You know, now that's not an option, you know. And I personally chose it not to be an option. Like when I quit drinking, it wasn't because my job told me I had to. It wasn't because my wife saying I'm leaving you. It wasn't from my kids saying I'm not coming around you. It wasn't for that.
Well, I think that's the only way it'll work.
That's the only way.
Most of the time when they force it, it doesn't work. When you're doing it for someone else, I don't think it works.
It doesn't. You know, I sign a lot of forms from the courts, you know, when people got to go to meetings and stuff, you know, court, make them fill, you know, sign this, get the paper signed, you know. I sign a lot of people's papers and stamp them and stuff, you know, and they're like little coupons, man. That's a ticket to a different way. Because eventually you get tired of living the way you're living. You know, you get tired of being sick and tired, you know, and you just see how things are. And then once you get cleaned up, And you start to see, okay, well, the world ain't coming to an end just because.
You know, here's a question I got for you. I know quite a few people that drink, and their big thing is they can't sleep unless they drink.
That was one of the hard things I had too.
You did?
Oh, absolutely.
How long did it take before you could sleep after you quit drinking peacefully? Because that's a big problem. I think that really affects, so many, because they want to quit drinking, but they just know they can't get to bed tonight if they don't.
Right. I wasn't used to going to sleep. Like, I work swing shifts. Every week my shift changed. So my wife would say, you didn't fall asleep, you passed out.
Yeah.
You didn't wake up, you come to. And that's what I did, because it was time to go to work. I'd get off work and I'd drink till I fell asleep, and then I'd wake up, and all depends on what time it was. Like when I was on second shift, this is how bad it was, Jimmy. When I was on second shift, I'd get up at 7 in the morning after getting off work and drinking till about 2. I'd go to home, I'd go to bed. I'd get up at 7 in the morning. I would set my alarm to get up at 7 so I can drink. I listened to Rover's Morning Glory on the radio, and as soon as he was over at 11, then I would stop drinking, I'd get something to eat, take a power nap, and then go to work, and then work 3 to 11. When I get off at 11, pick up where I left off, it was like. And then midnight shift, I'd go to one gas station and stick to that gas station, because if you go buying beer at 7 o'clock in the morning, you got a guy behind you with a newspaper and a cup of coffee, and here you are with a 12-pack, and,
I've actually been behind that guy before, and I'm like, that's weird. I'm always thinking that,
and that's why, I found my own little gas station, and that way I didn't have that. Yeah. Because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it anymore. I was hearing it everywhere else I went. You ever consider your drinking? And, and the only time I ever got in trouble with the law is drinking.
Yeah.
I wasn't one that got in trouble for much of anything, but I got 3 DUIs out of the deal. And again, I didn't have the judge telling me, you got to go to meetings, you got to do this. I never had a paper to be signed. When I got my 3rd DUI, it was during COVID. So they
didn't do anything.
Nah, they weren't doing nothing. They were pretty much, got an intox lock and a hell of a fine.
Right.
And I'll tell you one thing, when you see that poster out there that says you just blew $10,000 on that DUI,
they're not lying.
They're not lying, buddy. They are not lying. When I got that 3rd DUI and I had to take 10 grand out of my savings and put it into another account, just so I could pay my fines, pay my reinstatement fee, pay all that. I just took it out of that account, And then the wife would say, well, you just fucking blew the countertop money.
Right, yeah, right.
It
makes sense.
It makes sense, for countertops. So here,
my ex-wife, one time, I used to go golfing all the time. I'd go golfing constantly, and she was getting pissed. Golfing's not an inexpensive thing to do. One day I come home from golfing, and she says, hey, before you come in, grab the stuff out of the trunk of my car. Here, she went shopping and bought all kinds of shit. She put a stop to my golfing.
Yeah, real
I was
quick.
like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, hey, we're just spending money. We're spending money.
Yeah,
Fuck
we're
it.
going to
Let's do it.
spend, we're going to spend, right? If you can do it, I can do it,
Right, right.
And that was one thing, and I was drinking NAs, because and when I was drinking NAs, because I really liked the taste, and it was a habit, So I would drink NAs, and I always had a frosted mug at home. And I always poured my beers, NAs or whatever, in the frosted mug. And I would drink that. So I still felt like I was mentally getting through it. I'm not drinking, Which you can fail an intoxalock if you drink 6 of them in like 20 minutes. 20, 25 minutes. And, if you just slam them damn things down, because at the end, I was trying to catch a bus. It said there's 0.5, percent alcohol, and I was putting to a test. You know what I mean? And then it got to the point where it's like, man, these NAs just... I would start buying my beer and then just put it in a frosted mug. And everybody just thought that I was just drinking my NAs, But the NAs, man, that was an easier and softer way of trying to solve a problem. You know, I was just trying to stop, you know, and I just couldn't stop. I just kept drinking.
Back to the question about sleeping though. How long did it take you to start sleeping good? Because they say that you will sleep better when you're not drinking. But I mean, I guess you got to get there, right? Eventually, like you probably are sleeping better now than you were 2 years ago, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, but how long did it take you to get there?
Well, when I got out of treatment.
You did go to treatment.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I didn't know you went to treatment.
Yeah. After that suicide attempt.
Yeah.
I ended up having to go up to the 4th floor psychiatric ward. You know what I mean? And that was cool with me, man, because I wanted to check out, man. I really did.
Yeah.
I was done. I couldn't handle things. Forget it, you know, and I wanted to check out. So I went up to that psych ward
At Lorraine Community?
Elyria,
okay.
Yeah. And I knew that it was just a step. Because when I came back around and started thinking clearly, I surrendered, man. I knew that I had a drinking problem. I knew that for the past 5 years. You know, I was already admitting it, calling myself a functional alcoholic. I tried to quit by drinking NAs, but that was like Pornhub on the radio. You ain't getting nothing out of that.
Right.
You know? So it got to the point where
I like that Pornhub on the radio.
and that's true, man. You ain't getting nothing out of it, you know.
I don't know. I mean, some good sexy talk might work. I don't know.
Yeah, back in the day, you had to make a phone call for that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the 900 numbers, right?
800 numbers, all that good stuff, you know. But yeah, so when I came back around, I had my mom, my dad, and my wife was there, and I told him, I said, I have a drinking problem and I need help. I can't do it on my own. I mean, I tried. I mean, that's what it took. It had to take that rock bottom to realize that I can't do it and I need help. Because that's the main thing. That's what I wanted to stress coming up here is the recovery. You know, I mean, that's important, you know. And like you said, you got to find that there's other ways, man. You know,
that's any
ways.
addiction. Any addiction just has to be replaced. Whatever it is, you know, has to be replaced with something positive or something that's good for you. Or my thing is, I worry about, like right now they've got this, and it's not alcohol based, and we'll get back to the alcohol based in a minute, but the gambling that they're doing, like, because they just they came in and shut those games. I had those games in there. They came in and took them out of here or whatever. But yet they're trying now to go legal online gambling for everybody. So you're doing the lottery on your phone. You're doing
I see that now. Scratch offs on the phone now.
That's all bad, dude. You know, people will. I mean, it's irresponsible. I know they say they could bring the state like a hat, but you're gonna damage. If you look at all these other states that have done that already, bankruptcy's up like 28% or something like that. It's astronomical. It's a serious problem. For them to even considering it, I think is just ridiculous. I mean, the sports betting, I don't know how anybody does the sports betting. I go on I looked at the sports betting app and it's just stupid. It's just you're playing this bet or that bet or you're betting. It's just they're all stupid. They're all like, I don't like it. I'm glad I don't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean with the sports betting. When they start putting, like, say, Keno or the lottery or something, people will go broke, and they want to put casino slots on there too through the casinos, and it's an addiction. That's a horrible, and people don't understand. It's just as bad as alcoholism.
There's a lot of addictions out there. There's like alcohol, drugs, pornography, gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of addictions out there, you know.
And that gambling, they're irresponsibly right now at this point just going to put it in everybody's hand. And that's just, it's bad. That's not a good, I don't think they should do it personally. And yet they're stopping them from putting them in the little club bars and stuff, which, I mean, we're just looking to make a little extra money. People come in here, whatever cash they got is what they can spend. They can't go in debt with their credit card. And I mean, that online, they will 100% be just wiped out. They will wipe themselves out for sure, 100% with that. They just can't even stop. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with you, like saying when you were drinking.
Yeah.
You can't stop. It's just impossible to stop.
I used to remember that buddies of mine would say, "Hey, you want to come over for a couple beers?" The fuck's a couple beers, man? You know, like, what are you doing? Trying to piss me off? You know, a couple beers ain't gonna do nothing. You know, it's but like you're saying, back to the sleeping thing. If you go back to that, when I went into treatment, 'cause like I said, that I told my family that, you know, I need help. I couldn't do it on my own. So my wife got on the phone and on the computer and all that and found a treatment center. She knew I couldn't be around here because she knew I'd say fuck it and I'd go to the bar. I've walked from my house by the college to this bar. I remember, I don't know if you remember that, but I came.
I don't remember it, no.
Yeah, I walked all the way from my house, came here, walking. And I told you, I was like, man, I walked all the way from my house all the way here. And he was like, well, you must be tired. You thirsty, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, man, this motherfucker, man. Because I was in my head, you know?
Yeah.
And I had a couple beers here, and then I went down to St. Lad's, walked down to St. Lad's, and then I called my son after I was done drunk, you know? Hey, come get me, you know? My wife thought I was just going for a walk.
See, I never seen you out of control in here other than the one time you vomited. That's why I guess I didn't realize how bad the problem was, because I never seen you out of control here.
No, I never really was that type to cause problems.
Yeah, you were always kind of in control. Like we have a guy that comes in here, and I'm just going to call him out. I mean, he's probably not going to like it, but Kyle. This dude needs to quit drinking. He just does. Every time you see him, he's just slumped over, passed out. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And he lives his life like that way. You'll see him that way one night. The next morning, he's just like that, exactly the same way. And it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's still slumped over like he was the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, he really needs help. But the problem is, until he wants to help, it isn't going to much matter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know that's what it takes, man. It's just you gotta want it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you gotta want it. You know, otherwise it ain't gonna do you no good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference between not drinking and then having sobriety. Being sober and having sobriety are two different things.
Do you still smoke weed or anything?
No.
Nothing. You're clean off of everything.
Everything, man.
That's good. That's
clear-headed. Awesome. You know, when I got out of treatment, I was so excited to be able to piss in a cup. You know,
that's what excited you.
Yeah, man, because I was never able to do that. You know what I mean? Now it's just like, man, give me a cup. Give me a cup. You know,
yeah.
It's like
you're pissing for everybody now.
Yeah, hey, you can make some money for that. You can make some money with that. You know, it's funny at work in my locker, I always kept that synthetic urine, and that way, if me or one of my guys got hurt, I would just give it to them. And hey, we could worry about that later. Just keep your job. You know?
Right. Did you get your job back?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Okay. My wife called my job and told them what happened. And they knew, because they were telling me that, you know, you're not going to go no further in this company if you keep drinking like you are.
Oh, they were actually telling you that?
They never threatened my job. They never said, or you're going to lose your job. You quit drinking or you're going to lose your job. They've never said that. But
they just said you're stuck.
You're going to be where you're at until you know, if you keep drinking every day, you know. So they already knew. So when that all took place, my wife called the HR guy, which we knew real well, because I've been there 15 years. So we all know each other, you know.
Right.
And then their response to that was, just tell Jeff to get better. And he's got his job. Whenever he's good, he can come back. You know, just let him do his thing. Take as much time as he needs. He's got his job. Don't worry about it. So once my wife found that treatment center out in Chardon is where I went. It's a treatment center called Prosperity Haven.
Prosperity Haven.
Yeah, out in Chardon, Ohio. And I spent 48 days out there. And it
damn, 48. I thought it was 28 days.
It used to be 30, and, you know, they got there's a treatment center right down the road that there's guys there 10, 11 months.
Damn.
12 months. Or that aired fellowship that's right down here. That's a 3/4 house for the treatment.
What does that mean, 3/4 house?
That's guys that, a lot of guys that go to jail and stuff, for example, they don't really have nowhere to go when they get out, you know. So the 3/4 house from a treatment center is to help you get back on your feet. You ain't in the facility as far as with the treatment part, but you can work. You know, you can go to work. Got a place to live. You know, you got like 9 guys, but you know,
I thought that was just like a AA coffee place.
it used to be.
Oh, okay. So they've stepped up their game now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
used to be. Yeah, because I remember going there whenever I first got out of treatment, and I was floating around town, you know, just bored. Because I drank a lot out of boredom. It took me 2 minutes of being bored. I might have a couple beers.
Well, that's the key. That's what they say. Like, it's bored, but it's not boredom. It's just that's all
It's
you
a
want to do.
mindset.
Nothing else is fun to you at that moment.
At that moment.
Right.
You know,
But they claim it's boredom, but it's not. It's never boredom.
you know, they like to use that word triggers. You know, like, you know, going to a bar, that's a trigger. That'll make you want to drink. You know, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when I spoke with my sponsor about doing this, he's like, can't go to a bar, man. What are you thinking?
Well, we're not in a bar. We're up in an office.
Well, yeah, we're up in the office, but, you know, they think a bar, you know.
Right.
And it's just like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I choose not to drink. You know, that's it. The way I look at it, Jimmy, I'm
it's
allergic to
important
it.
because there are people that are dealing with it and don't know how to deal with it, and there's it's like the sleeping thing. I mean, like I said, I know at least 2 people right now that tell me they can't sleep without drinking. Okay, there's a problem then, and you need to adjust that. But that's why I'm asking you, because I want to make it clear that you do sleep better now. It just took a while.
Yes, yeah, I do sleep better, and when I wake up, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you get that.
know.
That's what they say, that REM sleep you don't get when you drink, really, they say, anyway.
Yeah,
what
you
they
know,
claim.
it's like I wake up now and I'm ready to go.
So when you were drinking, like you said, you drank how long straight?
25 years.
25 years
every
straight.
day.
Every day. You never had a day off. Mother's Day, Easter, nothing, Christmas?
No. Well, them are the drinking days. What do you mean?
Jesus Christ, really?
I would drink on a good day. I would drink on a bad day. It's raining, might as well drink. Sun is shining, might as well drink. Yeah, you know.
Well, my dad, he got to get mad at me because we would have like the kid's birthday party or Thanksgiving. He'd show up with beer. I'm like, what the fuck is that? No, get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
You're not bringing it in here. And he'd get mad and just wouldn't come in. Like, well, then I guess I'm not welcome. That's how my dad seen it.
You know,
I guess I'm not welcome. That's how he felt.
That's how I felt.
And to me, you don't drink in front of the kids like that. That's just like, to me, that's the way I seen it, because I seen it growing up and I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to see that. You know, I just don't. I never wanted them.
Yeah,
any
you
of them
saw
to see
the
it that way.
bad sides of it growing up.
Real bad, yeah. The
see,
real
I didn't
bad.
have that. You know, my dad never drank at home. He was always at Hungarian Club, St. Lad's, you know, Mill Tavern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't drink at home unless his buddies came over or something like that.
My dad would stop and drink like at bars probably a few days a week or something, but he would literally drink while he was working. And during the week, I wouldn't say my dad was a bad drunk. On occasion, he'd get real drunk during the week, but for the most part, he was just drinking through the day. That's it. He just drank through the day. That's what he did. He just drank. He drank it like I drink coffee, and I do drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I drink a lot of coffee myself.
And he just drink it throughout the day, but the weekends was always like, everybody got to come over. We all got to get drunk. We got to, you know, and some of that I liked. I mean, I loved it that Sunday morning we always had a big breakfast.
Yeah, my wife.
You know, like, I mean, I love that shit, you know? But there was a lot of shit that was just not even worth, like, I mean, it was just horrible. I remember one time my stepmom made paprikash, and my aunt Tina had showed her how to make the paprikash or whatever. Well, my dad expected chicken and dumplings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she talked her into making the paprikash instead, which paprikash is good. I mean,
Right.
my dad walked in the house drunk. She gave him paprikash, and he broke her nose. True story, right in front of us all. Like, this was supposed to be dumplings.
Wow.
True story. I watched that happen at about 13 years old. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, no wonder why you didn't.
Yeah, it was wild, dude. It was just, I mean, he wasn't just drunk. He was mean, too. You know what I mean? My dad's a mean guy. He's not, well, now he's weak, but he wasn't a weak person.
No,
you know what I'm
growing up,
saying?
he
Like,
wasn't.
no, hell no. I mean, I watched him bear hug a refrigerator and take it up the steps one day. Like, legit, a full-on old school 60s refrigerator. Boom, boom, boom.
Up the
Like, he
steps.
was nobody to fuck with.
Yeah, I remember when we was at Whittier, I used to walk from Whittier to St. Lad's to get my allowance. Or Hungarian Club.
Well,
you know?
see, I would do that. See, I didn't live with my dad. I lived with my mom. So, but I would spend weekends with my dad and stuff. That's where I would see that stuff. And then in the summers, I worked with my dad all week, all summer. And I worked with my dad doing construction, roofs and stuff since I was 11 years old. So I would see him a lot like that. And then if I, like during the school year when I wasn't working or whatever, I would have to go find him if I needed some money off of him. He would give me money every time I see him, but he would either be at a bar or a job site too. I'd know where he was working or something. I worked there that weekend or something, you know.
Yeah, so you had an idea where to go.
Yeah, I had some sort of idea. It was usually Riverside. Well, when I was real young, it was Man Jeans.
Man jeans,
you know,
those slam jeans, huh?
Oh, Man Jeans. Jack loved me. When I was a kid, he'd give me all the old records because my mom went there too. My mom wasn't an alcoholic, but they both, my mom and dad both went there separate, but they both would go there all the time. So Jack, he was always good to me, loved me.
Yeah.
That was the old man there. And then Riverside, Bob over there at Riverside. He was always over
the old
there.
River Rats.
Yeah.
That's where I used to drink there too. Underage, I used to drink
I did
there.
too. I asked Bob to buy me a beer on my 21st birthday, and he goes, "Oh, it's your birthday? How old are you?" I said, 21. He goes, "You motherfucker."
Yeah. I had good times up there. I had some good times up there.
Yeah, we used to have
that's
some
for sure.
good times back in the day up there. But
And Andy's. What about Andy's?
I drank at Andy's a couple times, not a whole lot. Andy was my boss. If you remember, Andy owned the Subway I worked at.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I wasn't, for one, getting away with drinking underage, and for two, I didn't want to see him when I was drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he owned a portion of the Subway I worked at.
I
at the
remember
time.
you was talking the other day about Tony.
Yeah, Tony and Andy, that was all part of the
I
same
was like,
deal. Yeah.
Man, you know, I remember him owning that gym, Pumping Iron Gym over there.
Tony and Fred owned that.
Yeah, and he had that smoking hot wife. I always remember he had to.
Tony or Fred? Fred had Joy and Mary Ann. Neither one was he married to, though. Mary Ann ran the Subway and Joy ran the gym.
It must have been Joy.
And then the one that was on the billboard, that was Tony's wife. That was on the billboard on 57. That was Tony's wife.
That's the one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the one. I was like, man. Then when you said all that, and I was like, wow, man.
Oh, yeah, that was deep rooted in them because Joy was my aunt that he was with. Joy was my aunt at the time. That was Jeff. Her brother Jeff was with my Aunt Bonnie
Oh, okay.
for years and years and years. But so that's how I knew all of them so well. And that's, Fred used to let me, like I had that truck. Remember that 67 step side I had?
Yeah.
That was Fred's. I was making payments on it, but I got it off Fred, that 67 step side.
Yeah. So was it a clean title whenever you?
When me and him got into it, we got into a fight, and he took it from me.
Did he really?
He gave me what I had paid on it already, and he said, "Fuck you."
At least.
I only owed him like $1,000 on it though. He took the the Corvette he had.
Yeah, I remember that.
That engine was in that truck with a 4-barrel dual feed alley in it. That thing was badass.
Yeah.
But I drive it around the rain. Gas was 89 cents a gallon. Cost me about $20 a day. It was crazy.
No kidding. No kidding. So, that's one
But I
thing.
love that thing.
I got a high country now, Chevy high country, and it was like I went from having a drinking problem to now I got a truck with a drinking problem because man, it just sucks that gas up.
Fuck them Chevys. I'm having burdens with my Chevy. I got that Chevy the Trail Boss or whatever. I've had nothing but problems with that damn thing.
What about that Raptor? Didn't you have a Raptor for a while? I think the last time I was coming up here,
I should have kept that, but they offered me $53,000 for it on Carvana, and it was like I had it almost 5 years at that point. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, have it. I only paid $63 for it.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not take that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But now I wish I'd have kept it because I hate this thing. I really do. I hate it.
Yeah, I remember little horrible issues here and there with mine.
It's stupid shit. Stupid
oil.
shit.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got low oil, and I'm like, well, how is it low? You know? And so now they're doing an oil consumption test on it.
That's if you look it up, that's a problem that they're having.
Yeah,
that's normal. That's a normal problem they're having. Mine literally, the tailgate was popping open for no reason because I've got the auto tailgate.
Yeah, me too.
And it was just popping open for no reason. Just would pop open all day when it would do it. It would pick a day and then just pop open 20 times that day. You just could close it all you want. It's just going to keep opening.
Oh, that would suck.
Oh, it was aggravating.
Parked up against something or...
Well, that's the thing. You can't put your trailer on it because if you put your trailer in, it's going to go down on the crank. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've hated that damn truck. It's just been nothing but a nightmare for me. And the high beams don't work right on it. The auto high beams don't work right on it. The locks were messing up on me. They weren't like, it wouldn't let me touch the thing and unlock it no more. But I took it in. It's all been worked out. At this point, everything's working right. So Spitzer did fix every issue I had with it. The only other thing was that they couldn't get the tailgate to pop open, so that may show back up. You know, because that didn't happen consistently. It was just 2 different days. It did it all day long.
Wow.
But they did replace the battery, so maybe it had something to do with the low battery. I have no idea, but it's annoying as shit.
Yeah, that could be, you know. So, I kind of like my bow tie, though. I like going around, you know. I had that Avalanche for a long time, and then when I came off that Avalanche, I got a car. And I was like, man, what the hell is a car?
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that, man.
I used to drive, Amanda had when I first got with her. She had an S10, or not an S10, a Honda Accord. It's like you feel like you're riding on the pavement.
Yeah,
it's freaking crazy.
Like you're dragging your butt on the ground.
It's a fun car to drive. I mean, it was a stick shift and all that, but...
Yeah, my son, when he comes over and I move his car out of the driveway, I get in there, I'm like, damn, man. Then he's got the seat way back, and it's like, how do you do this?
No, I love a truck, man. You got to get in a truck.
I used to always have a truck because, when I got that car, I didn't like that because if a car pulled up alongside of me and they look over, they're going to see a beer in the console. Because I always had a beer.
Even always when you drove and everything, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I used to judge distance. Like from here to my parents' house, and that's about 2 beers away. You know, home, that's about 3 beers away. I used to judge
Seriously?
distance.
That's seriously what you did?
Yeah.
No shit, really?
Yeah. Jimmy,
that's crazy,
bad,
dude.
Yeah, I was in bad shape. I weighed 98 pounds when I went into treatment.
Wow.
And I know I'm a little guy, whatever, but... You know, I'm 140 now, and I still look little. Can you imagine 98 pounds?
Wow. That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
98 pounds.
98 pounds. I didn't go nowhere. I went to work, went home, you know, and caught up with a buddy, you know what I mean, and go back home, you know.
So how much were you spending, do you think, a week on cocaine, beer, whatever you were doing, weed?
And 180 twice a week, $20 a day in beer. I'd get a case of beer, you know, a day. I'd get a case of beer.
So that's $500 right there.
Easy.
A week.
Yeah.
$500 a week.
Yeah.
How much do you make over there? I want a job.
They're hiring. They pay well. They pay well. We always tell the guys, don't pick up a drug habit, you know, don't go doing this, because, you know, you
$500 a week, that's huge.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My wife makes really good money, too. She makes more than I do.
Oh, you got a sugar mama. I want one of those, too. That'd be nice.
They come with a price.
She's not OnlyFans, is she? You said she works at home.
No, she's in the medical field.
Oh, okay. All right. What's the price? She tells you what to do?
Huh?
What's the price? She tells you what to do?
No, you gotta listen to it, man. You just gotta listen.
You gotta listen?
Yeah. And, you know, like, part of being sober. I dished out a lot of bullshit her way, by just my actions and the fuck-its.
But how do you get along now? Because you said you guys were fighting constantly.
Constantly. You know what, Jimmy? The best part of my sobriety is me and my wife, we hold hands. We go like Crocker Park. You know what I mean? We dedicate date night on Saturday night, It's like dating. It was like dating all over again when I came home from treatment. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's that good, huh?
It's that good, man.
Wow.
Before, I couldn't stand her. She couldn't stand me. My breath stank, or, you have a little something on your nose. She was naive. She didn't know.
She didn't know?
No.
She didn't know that part of it?
No,
Really?
she didn't know nothing about that.
Wow.
When I had to tell her about that.
How do you get away with putting out that kind of money and she don't know? You guys just didn't have bills together, or you didn't have bank accounts together, or
we got all that together. But she knew when I went out, it was, I would start with $40, go to the bar, I'd hit the ATM. Oh, honey, I lost. I reached in my pocket to get some beer, babe. I lost $100. I'd make excuses.
Yeah.
And as long as I went to work every day, my bills were paid. And that's all that mattered.
Man, that's wild.
But
we still never answered how long it took you to get to sleep, though. We still we keep getting sidetracked.
About 30 days, 45 days.
That long, huh?
Yeah. Well,
how was that? Like, how was that? The 30, 45? So you're in treatment while you're doing that, basically learning how to sleep, right?
I was learning everything. Man.
So you're like up all night in this treatment center? Oh, that's horrible. Did they give you anything that put you to sleep? I hope
they
not.
tried.
They did.
They tried.
See, they shouldn't. I don't think. That's just another addiction.
That's just another addiction.
Yeah.
But the treatment center I went to was really cool because it was the guy, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they first got famous, they bought a house out in Chardon.
Okay.
Well, as more famous as they got, they moved on. Well, the first house that they bought, the treatment center bought it.
Okay.
So the house, there's only 9 guys, and the house would have a person come in during the day who have like a therapist, psychiatrist, counselor from 9 to 5. And then at 5 o'clock when they would leave, we had the whole house to ourselves. We'd have like a guy that would stay with us, just to make sure that we weren't tearing up the place, or give us rides to meetings, or give us rides to Walmart. So
it wasn't like, that's cool. So you weren't like in a hospital type thing. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, my wife knew that I couldn't do a co-ed thing, and I couldn't be in town, and I needed, a small setting.
Yeah.
She knew that. I didn't need no hospital setting. That wouldn't work for me. And I couldn't go down the road to a treatment center, because there are quite a few around here.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I go to a lot of treatment centers because that's how I stay sober. I surround myself in recovery. I'm always up at treatment centers, hanging out.
Do you know
with
Matt
guy.
Vidovich?
Oh yeah,
he was a good friend of mine growing up.
He's doing real well. By the way.
Yeah, he was a real good friend of mine growing up. He was bad too.
Yeah, he was.
He was real bad. Like he would literally, like you'd have a Taco Bell to-go cup.
Yeah, beer fits in that. Beer can does.
Well, no, he'd just pour like a couple beers in it. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about a 16, 17-year-old kid in his house with his parents. He would just have a straw in a Taco Bell cup, and it was beer every time. Every time. At 16, 17 years old.
Wow.
He was next level. He didn't ever want to stop.
There's a lot in that family that are...
His dad is one of the first I've ever seen functional alcoholic. Yeah. Well, like my dad was too, but I mean, his dad, like literally, I don't think he ever missed work, but he was always drinking.
Yeah, that's one thing I really didn't
never, no joke.
Yeah, I never missed work because I had a habit to support. Couldn't miss work, you know what I mean? Like I said, as long as I went to work every day, my bills are paid.
Wow.
If I go missing, if I go calling off or doing this or doing that, then, then things would have to get cut back a little bit, and I wasn't doing that.
Wow.
I'd work. I was a worker. And that's our generation, too. We're workers,
I remember when we came up as kids, though, all the older guys would say we were a lazy generation.
Yeah, well,
They did.
now we're saying that about the youngins, you know. Now we're saying about that with our kids. You know, can't put the phone down in time, you know.
Yeah, that phone is horrible. It really is. That's a horrible
I remember
device.
the first time I walked into a bar after coming out of treatment. When I came out of treatment, when I would get gas for my truck, I would pay at the pump. I wouldn't go in the gas station because I didn't trust myself without grabbing beer, even though I didn't want to drink, you know, and I was in my head saying, not drinking, but just something about seeing the beer.
It's normal, your normal thing.
It was, I could taste the commercial, a Bud Light commercial. I could taste that motherfucker, you know what I mean? I really enjoyed my beers, you know, to where I would pay at the pump. I wouldn't even go in. So it took about, well, my dad passed away in December 14th. And we had...
oh, I didn't know he passed.
Yeah, he passed away in December. And they had the luncheon afterwards down at St. Lad's, because that's my dad's watering hole down there. That's where my dad always went.
He's a fixture. Him, Jim Perry, they were fixtures now.
Absolutely, you know. And so afterwards, we had that luncheon there. And my family was kind of concerned. We knew we was going to have it there because that was that, and Jeff was treating everybody real well.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, and I went in there, and I didn't feel pressured or nothing. You know, no, I didn't. Everybody knew I was in treatment. They knew I was in recovery.
So you think it's over, huh?
What?
Like the pressure?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no desire to drink.
You really feel that way?
I have no desire to use or drink wholeheartedly.
I would have to say only one thing, though. I'd only have to say one thing. That this is probably your most dangerous time if you feel that you don't have the pressure. I would bet that's how it can catch you off guard. I'm just saying put your guard up.
Oh, always.
That's all I'm saying. Because I don't think that's a healthy... I've never met an alcoholic that said I have no pressure to do it. I've never met one. You're the first one I've ever heard that out of.
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I have no desire to drink.
Yeah.
Because I know now.
I get it.
That's just going to be trouble. So whatever problem that I may have at the moment, because I don't have bad days no more. I got bad moments, you know, because life is life, but they're not bad days.
Yeah.
So I could take a bad moment and know it's a bad moment, and if I drink, that's going to be a bad day.
Right.
And then that bad day is just going to lead into another day. Next thing you know, you're right back where you left off. And then from what I understand and what I hear, it's worse.
Yeah.
You know, because now you're really going to beat yourself up because you couldn't even stay sober. You couldn't, you know, I relapsed, you know what I mean? And can't face all the people that I know now. I can't face my parents, can't face anybody, you know. And
do you wish you could have been a person that just drank socially? Is that something that you wish you could have done? Or do you even think about that?
No.
I'm just curious. I mean, I would.
I wish I could have a couple of beers and just call
I'm saying like you wish you in the first place.
Right,
in the first place, you would have been
like
that
my brother.
person. Yeah.
My brother's that way. My brother can have a couple of beers, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, he'll go into St. Lad's if my dad's there for the drawing or something, and he'll get his drawing tickets, and he'll have one, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's me. I'll have one or two, and then I'll go back to coffee. Everybody goes, how do you do that?
How do you do that? You know,
I have no problem with it. It doesn't bother me even a little bit.
I can't do that, man. I get that taste, and I'm in, you know?
Yeah.
I just can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I know it. So, and like I said, I surround myself in recovery.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And I'm always out to help another man. You know, I'm always out to help another person out, you know, whether it's addictions, you know, or sometimes, man, just somebody to listen.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of these suicides and stuff, I know whenever I felt that way, I felt hopeless.
We just lost a guy here, and I wonder if alcoholism could have played a part of it.
It's a depressant.
That committed suicide.
It is a depressant. We all know that.
Yeah. Yeah, we just lost a guy, and he was somebody that was here every day, drank all day long.
You had a benefit or something up here, didn't you?
Yeah.
My son was telling me about that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was... he did put the shotgun in his mouth. You know what I mean?
See, man.
And then when you said that, I got chills when you said it. Honestly, I can't believe. I feel bad that you had to go through that. Like that, I can't imagine. I can't even. There's nothing in me that can imagine that. Like that's gotta
a dark place.
That's
man.
gotta be as dark as it gets, and the most hopeless. Like the most like. I mean,
when you just want to check out, you just want to unlive yourself, be done. You know, you feel like you're a burden on everybody. You know, you're making these decisions that are just making you a burden on people, and you can't stop.
Yeah.
You know, I tried, you know, and then I couldn't. So I was like, this is what I'm going to be. This is going to be me. And then I couldn't even handle me. You know, I couldn't look myself in the mirror, but I can look at myself in the mirror. You know what I mean? And it was just a bad headspace.
I don't know
man.
what you mean. What do you mean?
Can't look at myself in the mirror.
Okay.
But I can look at myself in the mirror.
I don't know what you mean. What are you saying?
Doing cocaine on a mirror.
Oh, off a mirror. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I couldn't look at myself in the mirror.
I got you. Okay. Okay.
No,
again, I've never done coke.
Yeah.
But I do know that they do it off the mirror. I do know that. I do know
plate,
that. A
toilet seat.
I know they'll do whatever. I know clearly.
Back of a toilet.
Yeah. That's pretty nasty. Have you ever done it off the back of a toilet?
No, I've never done that. I would just key it. You know, I would just use a car key, just key it.
Really?
You know, on the fly. That's how I would do it. You know, because. For one, I was driving, so I didn't really have much time to be doing anything else, you know. But it's just it's a very dark place to be in, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get out of that. You know, it seemed like I had an emptiness that, you know, I was trying to fill, you know. And I grew up with people that drank a lot, you know. I don't know if I really want to mention, but I had these two friends of mine, really good friends of mine, Calvin and Stan Hill is their names. Mm-hmm. And they drank every day. They went to work every day. They drank every day. They had their 12-pack on the way to work. They'd have it in their arms. They'd come home with another 12. They worked at PC Campana. We worked together out there. And I looked up to these guys, you know, because they were able to do it and manage it.
I think that's a big problem with people that start to accept and do things like that. Because again, like me, I started drinking when I found people that could handle it. I said the same story you just said. I didn't want to drink, but then I drank with people because I felt like they could handle it. The people I was around handled it fine, so they were okay. And I believe that's what happened with my brother with cocaine in Hawaii. I think he started doing it with the manager of the restaurant he was working at. And he was doing good. He was the manager. He was this. He was everything was okay. I think that's a.
They can be cool with it. Why can't I?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people. I think that's how it starts. I mean, I'm fortunate because I didn't. Like I told the story the other day about my daughter being born, and I was like, this kid's fucked. You know what I mean? And I started going to jail a lot and all that stuff, and I just quit drinking. But I was fortunate it happened young enough that I wasn't addicted. It wasn't a problem for me. I just went, okay, I'm not drinking. That's it. You know what I mean? Because I was young. I was only 21 or something when at 21 years old, I basically didn't drink until I got a divorce in like 2008 or something. I mean, a couple here and there, maybe a beer at dinner or something, but
I seen
nothing crazy.
My buddy Stan, they're both passed now, and I miss them terribly. But my buddy Stan, his wife used to get on him about drinking because, of course, they were alcoholics, and you know. And I seen him grab an old Milwaukee from behind the dryer, that the dryer was running, and he was hiding his beer.
So it's that hot.
It was
heated
hot.
beer. That's boiling beer.
Boiling. We sat on that back porch, and he cracked that open and took a big old swig out of it.
And it's Milwaukee's best.
Yeah.
So it's not even cold. It wasn't good.
I looked over at him. I said, "Man, Stan, I don't know how you do that, man." He says, "Well, one day you'll understand. Alcohol is alcohol. You'll understand." And then I saw myself grabbing a beer, summer day, grabbing a beer that I had in my toolbox because I got to the point where I was hiding mine too. because the wife would see me drinking, and then she would get mad, you know. And,
Yeah.
you know, when you see your loved ones just sitting there killing themselves, and they're whittling away, you know what I mean? And
Oh, it's rough on everybody. It's rough on everyone.
It's rough on the family. It's all your loved ones, you know. And whenever I started drinking and didn't care if it was warm, cold, it didn't matter, you know. Alcohol was alcohol. And then I thought a stand, and I'm thinking, damn, man, like you knew that this was going to turn out to be this way, you know. But I didn't want to turn out to be that way. I seen that man die from cirrhosis of the liver, and I seen that stages, and I seen what's going to happen if I keep doing what I'm doing. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
know?
When I was a kid, my buddy Bill and Mike Lee on the east side of Lorraine. Mike's still around. Bill passed. Bill was a bad alcoholic before he passed, though. He stopped by after I got divorced. He stopped. I'd have him cut the grass or stuff, but he would come over, and Amanda would just like, man, he's kind of an odd dude, you know. And the same with my daughter. They're looking at her going, man, he's an odd dude. Why are you so good at this? But these boys were so good to me when I was a kid. I mean, their dad would take me on vacation with them when they went. If they went to the movies, their dad would even give me a weekly allowance when I'd go we'd go to the Hall's Flea Market every weekend, and you know. But their mom, because their dad didn't live at home, their mom was a drinker. She drank Kessler.
Ugh,
Yeah.
I couldn't stomach that.
As a kid, if we wanted to do something, if we wanted to do something, just buy her a bottle of Kessler. You're good. She didn't give a shit what you did. Just get her a bottle of Kessler. So that's what we would do to get away with doing stuff. You know what I mean? And it tore Billy up. It tore Mike up when she died. When we were kids, they died. She died when Mike must have been like maybe 17 or 18, and Bill might have been 15 of cirrhosis of the liver. And it was rough. That was bad.
Rough,
it's bad. That's horrible.
That's just to watch that and see how their stomach got so big, and it was just.
She was real thin. She was a real skinny, like she didn't eat anything. She was real thin, but she did have a little belly, but not like you see the real bad that have cirrhosis. She just had like kind of a little belly of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Bill said whenever she died in the hospital, I was outside. It was at St. Joe's. I was outside, and he was in there when she died, and I guess like black stuff come out of her, and I guess it's nasty.
It's a bad deal.
It's real bad.
I used to tell my wife, she used to come out to the garage and she'd have dinner on a plate, you know, trying to make me eat. You know, and there's a pork chop in every can, you know, the old sayings, you know, and man, just to see that look in her face, you know, it's just like.
I never understood that, but alcoholics don't eat when they're drinking. They won't eat. They'll eat after they drink.
Yeah, I never really had an appetite.
Even after you drink?
I drank till I fell asleep, so
okay.
I would drink all the way. If I ate something before I drank, okay. But that was far few and in between.
See, of course, it would make sense because I don't have an addiction to alcohol. I have addiction to cigarettes and caffeine for sure, but definitely not
cut
alcohol.
These damn cigarettes out, man. I thought about 12-stepping these motherfuckers. Have I figured? No, man.
You know what? My wife, I'm proud of her. I'll go ahead and put her out there right now. She hasn't smoked, and I think it's almost 3 months now. Really? Maybe even almost 4 months now.
Hey, Tyke hasn't smoked in over a year.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, man, dude, how'd you do that? You know? And he's like, I don't know. How'd you quit smoking your stuff? You know?
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know what to say, but you know, because that's just him. You know? Like, man,
I am shocked that she was able to do it, and she just did it. I mean, she does take lozenges and stuff if she really feels, but she won't risk and get into the cigarettes. And I mean, it's like we don't smoke in the house, never did. So
yeah,
we smoke in the garage.
Yeah, so I do at home.
So she'll go sit out in the garage on her phone and eat a lozenge. And I mean, I'll be right there with her smoking, but she does not do it. She does not smoke. She'll go outside.
It's a mindset.
She has decided, and she's stronger than I am because I want to stop.
Hey, and you know, that's just like with any other addiction. It's a mindset.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got to really want it.
Yeah.
You got to be really convinced. Either you're not going to do it or you can't do it. You got to be totally convinced. If you got any inkling and that you can drink again or you can do this again. Oh, I quit drinking for 3 years now. I can have one.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that'll get you in trouble.
Oh, they say that. They say that if you were to, like, if you say right now you started drinking, they say that your alcoholism would progress as if you drank this whole last 2 years.
Yeah.
It would just automatically shoot up as if you had been drinking heavy the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
A lot of guys in these treatment centers, they go in, on fentanyl or heroin or whatever, and then when they leave, they go out and they grab, and then they use the same amount as
And
what
they kill themselves.
and then they're done.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's a common story with overdoses. Is that that's the common story, that because it's always somebody who hadn't done it in so long, like they've been clean for so long, and then at one time they do it because they're, like you say, they go back to that original whatever they were doing doses wise, or they're trying to get super high, whatever it is. Yeah. They're pushing the envelope for sure every time.
Yeah, the hard thing to see is because like I told you, I go to these treatment centers and I hang out with these guys. I've been in them shoes, and I just want these guys to know, hey man, it gets better. Just sit tight. Just do what's asked of you. Take suggestions. Be willing. And then when you see a guy and you see him doing real well, and then he leaves, and then within a week you hear he passed away.
I think one of the big problems with like AA and recovery and all that stuff is that they build it too much to religion.
Well, they're not supposed to bring up anything about AA. Like doing this podcast, I'm not supposed to be bringing up AA because it's supposed to. Part of their 10th tradition is that, stay out of politics, and TV, commercials. You don't see no AA commercials. You're not supposed to bring that up. And that's why I bring up recovery. I personally go to AA myself, but it's a higher power. And a lot of people, and including myself, I use God as my higher power because
a lot of people do. But the problem I have with it is that I don't have a problem with religion.
Yeah,
I believe in God, Jesus. I'm Christian. I 100%. Let me just say that. But I feel like maybe if somebody doesn't believe in it,
an atheist per se,
an atheist, or I just feel like they might think the whole thing's bullshit if you can't offer it a different way without religion.
Well, they use a spiritual. They don't call it religion. They call it a spiritual awakening.
Sure. But I mean, there's the Serenity Prayer. It's there. Yeah, everybody's rolling that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got that on my arm.
Did you put it on your arm?
Yeah, I got it on my forearm.
That's awesome.
Well, because there's a lot of times, man, when times get tough, man, I sit down, I put my head down, I look right at it, and they use it as a higher power, and it's something other than you to help you not drink or help you not use. Just like I know I couldn't stop drinking on my own. I needed help. There was a void. There was, resentments. Resentments is really what got my drinking started. I was paying child support for my daughter, and then I got full custody of my son when he was 8 months old. So I'm raising my son. I try to get child support for my son from a different wife. I'm trying to get child support, and the courts tell me, well, you can't take blood out of a turnip. And that's how they left it. So I got no child support while I'm paying out the ass for this one over here. So resentments started to come in, and then you get mad about resentments, and the fuckets come. That's the quickest way is a resentment to get you right back where you were, because then resentment comes, fuck it. What do I got to lose? Yeah. And then you're right back to where you were. And the higher...
you're right, because when I got my first divorce, there was a lot of resentment. I did a lot of drinking, but it didn't last too long. I got over the hump. I mean, I remember Scotty Campana calling me up, and he said, hey, you know what? He says, you got to remember, man, that front mirror is a lot bigger than the rear view, or the front windshield is a lot bigger than the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
He said, and I'm watching you constantly. He said, just watching your Facebook and stuff. And he goes, this ain't you, man. He said, and he's the one that kind of laid it out there for me. And I was like, he's kind of right. Like, I guess I ain't got to say that. At first, I thought, fuck you. What are you talking about? That's honest. If I'm being honest, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you know? You know what I mean? Because you saw it on Facebook. But then I went to go look and see what he saw on Facebook. And I thought, wow, I am like my whole life is around drinking. That's kind of fucked up. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not like, I'm like, this ain't cool, And I kind of, at that point, started to chill out. And I just kind of never went back to that, constantly doing it at that point. My thing is like that, the marina, I like to drink at the marina or whatever.
Marinas.
And every once in a while here I do. But I honestly don't have a problem. I don't care. I don't even want to get drunk when I drink. So that's, I just have a couple to socialize or whatever, and I'm done.
Yeah, I'm all in or all out.
And a lot of people are, and I understand it. I understand it because I understand cigarettes. I smoke cigarettes the way you drink alcohol. I smoke 2 packs a day.
Damn, 2 packs a day?
Sometimes closer to 3, if I'm being honest. I mean, I smoke a lot, and I drink, those K-cup things in there I go through about a case of those a week, just up here by myself.
I drink a lot of coffee.
You know what I mean? So I have addictions. There's no question I have addictions.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about being sober, too, is there's more of a day. Before I would drink and pass out, and I'm asleep by 7 o'clock. Now it's like I'm up 9, 10 o'clock. I got more of a day, You
get those guys that come on the construction sites, and I know they're alcoholics right away. Well, first of all, construction sites are a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
And you know that just going in a porta-john. That shit ain't normal. Like, regular bathrooms don't smell like that. But, other than that, the guys that are really drinkers, because they always brag about how they're always at work early and they're in bed by 8.
Yeah.
And they're always bragging it. And they're all drinkers. That's why they're in bed by 8. That's the reason,
Yeah.
That's the sole reason. Because there's no reason to be in bed by 8 o'clock.
Right.
Unless you're passed the fuck out. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. You see it a lot. Yeah, for sure. See, owning a bar, you would think that I would be on the opposite end of this, but I definitely am not.
Yeah, I'd be my best customer.
I want to have a bar where you're having dinner and a couple drinks for people who can handle it. I don't want a bar where people are losing their lives here. You know what I'm saying? That's never been in fact, I would really love to have like just a comedy club where people come out on a date night and enjoy a dinner. And that to me would be way better than any of it. I would like that much better than the, sitting around drinking and getting trashed every night.
Yeah, that's that date night you're talking about, man. I tell you what, dating my wife all over again when I got sober. Just hold hands. Something simple. We never done that. And then when I got sober, next thing you know, we're holding hands. We're actually enjoying each other's company. We have good conversations.
Did you ever ask her, why did you put up with my shit? Why didn't you just walk out?
I asked her that.
What did she say?
She said she saw something in me that she knew was in there. She was just waiting for it to come. She's full of shit.
She was scared.
She was scared. Oh, I used to scare the shit out of her.
She was just scared. Yeah, she's full of shit. That's all made up. Don't believe that bullshit.
Thanks, man.
She didn't see nothing in there.
She didn't know me that well.
Seriously.
She used to tell me, you need to stop drinking. And I was like, I was drunk when I met you. And all of a sudden you want me to change? Why don't you stop bitching? And I'll stop drinking, Never worked. I stopped drinking, she still bitches. She did tell me, though, if I quit drinking, because my second DUI, I was in a motorcycle accident.
Okay.
And she told me if I quit drinking for a year, I could get a new bike. I could get a bike of my choice if I quit drinking for a year, But at that time, I chose drinking over riding because I learned them two don't mix. So I'm going to stick to drinking, Now I've been sober 3 years and I ain't got a bike yet. I keep saying, I'm going to get one.
You're thinking about it.
Yeah, huh? I'm thinking about it. I like to get another one.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys in the program that I run with that ride. And they just go different meetings all over the place.
I keep thinking about getting rid of mine. My wife is a nervous wreck the whole time I'm out with it.
Yeah, my wife would be too.
There's so many dumbasses out there, and the thing is like there's dumbasses when you're in your truck too, but an accident in your truck, you got
They
a
hit
cage
you,
around you. It's
you're
not gonna.
good.
I mean, yeah, that's the
It's not gonna knock you on your ass, you know.
right. Yeah, I debate it all the time. I love it though. I'll tell you, I had the. Everybody knows I had They came in the casino commission and whatnot for the machines and came and took me out. I was having a rough week, And all weekend I've been stressed out about it and all this. And then yesterday she brought me up here. We were closed yesterday, but she brought me up here to grab my bike, and I rode just to ride home. And I felt I felt so much better when I got home.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever get rid of it. I mean, it is like
It's therapy.
it is. When they say wind therapy, they are not kidding. It is definitely
My
wind
son
therapy.
wants to ride side by side. That's one of his things. He wants to ride side by side with his dad,
Yeah.
just like I did with my dad, He wanted to do the same, So eventually, but I want one that I don't have a payment.
Yeah.
I just want to pay for it and put it over there in the garage. So if I decide to ride to work or just go here, go there, I could take it. If not, it's there.
Right.
No payment, no monthly thing. It's just an option.
Right.
I like to do things now that I couldn't do before. Just like I was telling you, I picked my grandkids up from school. My grandkids were nowhere near allowed to be even in my truck, anywhere with me, because I was always drinking.
You know what? How? You know how?
Oh, yeah. He used to ride to school with my dad.
So Hal, when he was here, he would come in the morning and start drinking as soon as we opened. But he picked his granddaughter up from school every day. But he would come here and he would drink twisted tea only.
Yeah.
Until he picked his granddaughter up. And then after he picked his granddaughter up, he'd switch to Budweiser and start doing shots. I'm like, what in the hell? He goes, yeah, I don't drink before I pick her up.
Yeah, twisted tea. That ain't drinking. This is tea. Yeah, Mike's Hard Lemonades. Them twisted teas were all right, man. I enjoyed them a little bit, but like after two of them, man,
They taste like that powder stuff to me. Like, remember that? What was that powder stuff you used to make with tea when we were kids?
Lipton.
Is it
tea?
Lipton? You would take the powder scoops and put it in the water and shake it up with
Lipton, I
ice.
think
Yeah,
it
that's what
was.
it tastes like to me, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
Never
they were
did
too
care for that.
citrusy.
Yeah, something. We always did, like my stepmom always made just Lipton tea, but she would just boil it on the stove, put it in a thing. We always added it like iced tea, sweet tea.
Yeah, I'd drink a
As a
couple
kid.
of them, and then I put Tito's in everything.
Tito's?
I'd put Tito's in my coffee. I'd put Tito's.
In your coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
My Monster drinks, anything I had, I would put Tito's. So I would drink, because whenever I was trying to hide my drinking,
That's my dad did. He supposedly quit drinking for a long time, and he was drinking vodka, lemon, and 7-Up.
Yeah. All of these alcoholics, they love that vodka, It's like, 'cause it has no
Yes, it
smell.
has no smell,
But
yeah.
my wife says there is a smell, because whenever I was hiding it, or whatever, are you fucked up?
Well, that's what my dad claimed the lemon was for. That's why he did the vodka, lemon, and 7, was because he said the lemon killed the smell, which it did not. I promise you it
You
did.
been drinking? No, I ain't been drinking. Look, I got my Monster. Yeah, but damn thing had 3 shots of Tito's in it,
No, the thing is with your wife though, they're like I was joking when I said that earlier, but she did get glimpses of you sober.
Yeah.
And so she did know there was someone else in there for sure, 100%.
Yeah, because it wasn't like a bad deal all the time.
Sure, right.
You know what I mean? We had our good times, and then we had our bad times, And the good times, they were just slipping away. It was always bad. It turned to bad. And it was just because I was in the garage, man, and I was just whittling away. And of course that's not going to sit right, and somebody loves you, they're like, hey, what are you doing? I had to talk from my mom, my wife, my dad, he would talk to me when I got my 3rd DUI. I got out of Elyria City Jail there, and I told the wife, I said, man, stop here to the little Mickey Mart or whatever that is right there. I was like, that cop took my cigarettes, I need my cigarettes, and I'm fucked up, I come out of that store, and I got a pack of cigarettes in a 12-pack. My wife's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I get home, and I'm sitting on the back stoop, just contemplating everything. Here comes my dad walking around the corner, and sat right next to me, and like, man, son, you realize you only like this when you drink? And don't you realize, you know? And then it was just like, man, I just didn't want to see it. You know, I just had to see it for myself.
Yeah,
know?
right.
But when you come out of that dark spot, when you come out of that dark place and you realize that there is help out there, there is a way out. You know, it's going to take some footwork. It's going to take some work.
And it's 100% better sober, right?
100%.
I mean, there's no question, right? I mean, 100%, right?
Jimmy, I wish I would have quit drinking 10 years ago, man. If I knew life could be like it is now, if I'd have knew that then, I wish I would have quit drinking then. You know, because life is so much easier. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You know, all these resentments, like at my job, working swing shifts. Man, how am I still working swing shifts? Man, I've been here this long. This guy got a straight shift job. Why can't I? Resentments. You know? Well, here I'm coming to work fucked up sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they know. They're not dummies.
Yeah, they're not dummies, you know? And it's just like, and my attitude sucked. So once I started changing my behaviors and the things I was doing, the job ain't so bad after all. If you don't go to work fucked up, job ain't so bad. You ain't going to work fucked up, you know, you ain't so cranky all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so things start to change. I ended up getting I got offered a position at work that overseed the foreman after getting clean and sober, because they didn't think I was going to get clean. They just thought I had a bad day and I'd pulled some stunt just to get my job back.
Yeah.
You know, that's what people think. You know,
the shame of it is a lot of times the alcoholics are some of your best workers.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's the case. My dad being a perfect example, he was an alcoholic, but he was a beast.
Man.
Like he could get some work done. I mean, he just knocked shit out. You know what I mean? So, I see that a lot, actually. I see that many, many times that that's the case.
Yeah. You know, for a long time, man, I surrounded myself at work, you know, because I knew drinking I had to moderate, you know what I mean? And if I was working, I wasn't drinking, so let me work.
Right.
You know, the wife's bitching all the time, let me work. You know, so next thing you know, I was working nonstop, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, you know, and it was getting to the point where now I'm fatigued on top of not living healthy. And that's when it just all starts to crumble, you know.
So I just got to go back though. When you
back
went
onto that sleeping thing.
No. When you went down in the basement to your bar and you got your 12 gauge down there,
Yeah, my Winchester 1200 model.
Why in the world did you think that was the better option? That's the thing I really want to know.
Because I was a nuisance to everybody. Nobody wanted me around.
Even your kids? You thought that you were a nuisance to them?
I thought that I wasn't any good example.
But how come the option wasn't that you could just leave? Like, why wasn't that an option?
Leave where?
Just leave them. Like, just say, I'm getting a divorce and just go off on your own and they'll be better off without me. Because you were saying they'll be better off without me anyways.
Right.
So why not just do that and stay alive? That's what I don't understand, I guess.
Well, I think with just being totally depressed and just thinking the worst.
Because you didn't want to be around.
I didn't want to be around. I didn't even like myself. I didn't give a fuck if you liked me or not, because I didn't even like myself.
Really?
You know what I mean? So going around and being cheerful to people, fuck you, man. You know, I didn't even like myself. I didn't care if you liked me or not. Just leave me alone. You know?
That's the part I guess I didn't understand. Like, because to me, I would think just leave. You know what I mean? I would think, like, if you feel you're such a burden, you know, because that does happen. There's couples that and especially in your situation, you've got one that's bitching all the time, one that's drinking all the time. And the problem's not going to solve itself. So maybe they need to just get a divorce and you leave and you say, you know, but nobody wants to be the one to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would think you would make that decision to say that over putting a gun in your mouth.
Well, that just came down to me not liking myself. That's what that came down to. I didn't like myself. I didn't like where I was. I didn't like what I was doing. I couldn't stop drinking, even when I tried. You know, it just got to the point where it was better off with everybody and nobody wanted to hear me.
So in 25 years, you never took a week and said, "I'm going to quit."
week?
Yeah, just like
Hell no.
never.
No,
You not just to
man.
prove to yourself I can handle it.
No.
Really?
No.
Damn.
No. The only time I didn't drink is if I was partying the night before and it led into the next day, and then got to take a break. You know, and then that's when I would tell my wife, I'm not drinking today. I'm not drinking today, you know. Sometimes that would work. Sometimes 6 p.m., right back at it, you know.
Oh, shit. Wow.
You know, it's like when you go to work in the morning after nursing a hangover. Man, I ain't drinking today and taking the day off, you know.
But were hangovers a problem? Most of those people that are alcoholics seem like they don't get hangovers.
Well, you drink.
When you drink again, it's just like the snake that bit you. Yeah.
Hair of the dog. That they call
Hair of
it.
the dog, snake that bit you. Yeah, same thing.
And then you're just right back where you were, you know.
To level out, huh?
Yeah. Get the shakes, you know. You got to ease the shakes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's a tough spot. You know, it's a very tough spot to be in. It's a serious situation because you see it all the time out here, man, and on these streets. You see people, you know, and it's one thing, you got to watch what you say to people and watch how you treat people, because you don't know what they're thinking. You know, you don't know where they're at in their head.
Sure.
You know, you can make a sly comment to somebody and that could push somebody over the edge. You know, just like when I was in my spot, all my wife told me was man up and do your job, you know. And then it pushed me right over the edge.
And that statement was enough
That
for you
was
to go.
it.
And she didn't see you get the gun or nothing.
She didn't see me get the gun. Now, she saw me take the pills, because when I went and I got the pills, I pounded on her office door. And I told her, I said, you know what? If nobody's going to listen to me, nobody's going to hear me at all. And that's when I took the pills. Figured nobody's going to hear me, or nobody's going to listen to what I'm saying, then nobody's going to hear me at all.
But nobody's listening to you because you're being a dumb drunk.
Being a dumb drunk, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
belligerent.
Yeah, I can
Ain't
see how
making
that
sense.
makes it worse. Like you're the idiot drunk, and then you're like, why is everybody not respecting me? Well, because you don't deserve respect right now.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that. You still feel like you deserve it.
Hey, my mom said that all I did was repeat myself all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So they did hear me the first time, the second time, you know what I mean? But here, you know, I keep repeating myself. Yeah, you know, and it's just
That
like,
Kyle I was talking about earlier, we have to have the guy he lives with interpret him when he's drinking. We can't understand him.
mumbles and everything.
It's so bad. You have no clue. I'm like, what did you say? And Ogle spit it out. Ogle's been around him long enough.
Yeah.
But this kid, he really needs help. Honestly, he does. And I would hope somebody's told him that besides me. But he definitely needs help.
I'm sure he's heard it. You know,
he has to have
You
heard
know,
it.
I think a lot of people get scared to get cleaned up because they're scared.
They don't know what the life is going to be.
They don't know what it's going to be like.
That's the con to it. That's what I was talking about earlier. That social circle where you have no idea what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
You have no idea. And I know, I know
that's true.
Most people find something, whether it's karate or a second job.
They go to the
or
gym.
The gym is a good one.
gym's a lot of guys go to the
gym. A lot of people fill their time with something productive, which is healthy. But at the end of the day, you got to learn to relax a little bit too, which is, that's
Right.
That's something like, as somebody who's never really had a problem with alcohol, and most people think I'm like a little jittery. I do plenty of relaxing. Like when I go to relax mode, I relax, and that's not with alcohol. I can just relax. I can just sit at home, watch TV, relax.
I could do that myself now.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's what people need to learn how to do that.
It's like
and
having
it's
that
better,
peace.
I think.
Having that
Oh
peace.
yeah, it's way more peaceful.
You can actually sit down.
Yeah.
And enjoy peace and quiet. Like if the house is quiet, I'm actually relaxed. Before it was like, it's too quiet around here, this or that, Now I have serenity.
Yeah.
I actually can sit and collect my thoughts.
What's been the toughest moment since it's happened?
My dad dying.
That was tough.
That was tough. I think that was a big eye opener for the family because they didn't know. They thought that was going to be it.
You were going off.
They thought, man, what are you going to do? Because that was my drinking buddy. You know, my dad was my drinking buddy, but he was also my number one fan in sobriety.
Yeah.
You know, he backed me up 100%. Anything I needed, he was there. You know, just like talking, he would talk. You know, we'd had great conversations. You know, but when we had that luncheon at St. Lad's and all the family and stuff was there, there was an aunt and an uncle that didn't know that I quit drinking, and she came up and said, "Hey, let's have a shot." And I was just quiet off to the side. And I didn't. And my daughter kind of saw me off to the side because she keeps an eye. My son and my daughter keep an eye on the old man.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
So she walked away or whatever, and I went up to the bar and I bought a round for the guys at the bar because that's what my dad would have done.
Sure.
You know.
Right.
And my aunt was down there again. She goes, "Hey, have a shot. Let's have a shot." And I said, "No, I'm good. You know, I'm allergic to it. You know, that's what I tell people. I'm allergic to it.
Yeah.
You know, because they leave you alone. They're not going to sit there, oh, you can have one. You know, I'm allergic to it, you know.
Yeah.
So I was able to buy a round for the bar. And then after doing that, I just walked away. You know, I said hi to the guys, you know what I mean? Because I'm cool with everybody, you know what I mean? Nobody's done nothing to me. I'm not a bad guy, you know?
Right.
So whenever I walked away, my daughter came up to me, she says, "Man, Dad, I never saw that before." I'm like, "Saw what?" "Well, how you can just go to the bar and order rounds and pass up shots and pass up drinks."
Strength. That's what she means. She's never seen strength.
She's never seen that. And that kind of stuff is what really like keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, knowing that.
Absolutely.
And then knowing that if I did decide to drink again, the look on that face.
That'd be horrible.
Horrible.
How could you live with that?
That's why when people relapse, they go off the deep end. My thinking is if I ever picked up
They
and
don't
started
want to
drinking,
face anybody.
you don't want to face them, but you just let everybody down. You just let everybody down.
Yeah.
And then not only everybody else, myself.
Yeah.
And then if I already had a problem with the depression, there ain't no coming back after that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just plain and simple. If you ever hear, Jimmy, of me out there drinking again, just know that it's going to be short-lived.
If I hear of you drinking, I think I'd have to go find you and have a talk with you.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's probably what I would need.
That's what I would
You know.
If I found out, I would go have a talk.
Yeah, because
I'm not, believe me, I don't want anybody. I've seen it firsthand too much, and I know what it's like. It's bad. I've seen it off the deep end. My brother and sister seen it worse than I did because they lived in the house with them. And they actually lived, there was a time when vodka 11 and 7 wasn't what he did to hide it. He started smoking crack cocaine.
Oh, I never done that.
That's what he did.
I've never done that.
That was his little thing at one time. He decided he was going to smoke crack and nobody would smell it on him.
I never done that, never been around that. But
those were dark moments that my brother and sister had to experience. I at that time had Alexa already, and I'm living on the outside looking in. They were in it. I mean, I can't imagine how horrible that was for them. You know what I mean? To go through that. I just can't even imagine. It was, I mean, the little bit I saw was unbearable. I mean, it was just unbearable. He showed up at the time we were living on the lake right next to back then it was the Amish restaurant or whatever, but the castle.
Oh,
those apartments right to the left of there.
Lakeside 10. Wasn't that what was that hotel next door?
I don't know what the hotel. Lakeside 10 is Sheffield. This is like the west side of Lorraine.
Yeah.
So it's where the Castle restaurant is. There's apartments right to the side, across from Chapman's or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So I'm living there. I come home from work one day, and Alexa was born at the time. My ex-wife. Well, she wasn't even my wife yet at the time, but she's my ex-wife today. But I get there, and my dad's there. My dad doesn't do that. My dad does just come visit. You know, especially if I'm not there, he just doesn't do that. You go visit him.
Yeah.
That's how he is. You know what I mean?
Right.
he does now maybe a little more. You know what I mean? He certainly did for my brother and sister more than he did me. But for me, he never did that. And I come over and he's just there. And I'm like, how'd you get here? Your car is not in the parking lot. And he goes, oh, a buddy's using it.
Oh, we hear them stories a lot.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he's literally, and we knew he had a drug habit by that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, this is absolutely insane. And then one day, my brother and sister said that they showed up at the house, like, and he's shut off all the lights and made them all duck down. Like, I mean, just all kinds of crazy shit was going on with that stuff when he was going through that. I mean, it was bad. Like I said, I was on the outside and I seen it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the heart of it like my brother and sister. They seen shit that I didn't. I'm glad I never got to see.
Yeah, I think of that a lot when it comes to my son. Because, like I said, I had custody of my son since he was 8 months old. So he's been with me. He's been my right-hand man to this day.
Yeah.
When I met my wife, my son was 9. So then that's when it was me, him, and her.
Right.
Before, it was just me and him.
Right.
And the shit that he used to see, I can only imagine,
And sadly, it's probably not even something that sticks in your head that sticks in his.
Yeah.
Sadly, you wouldn't. I mean, he probably would never share a lot of it, but I'm sure there's things that.
And now that I sit back and I think of that stuff, now I put myself in other people's shoes a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of I look at things differently. Towards like, man, I feel bad, like with my mom and dad, I never stole nothing. Whenever I was, working my program, I had to write down some things, like, resentments and things that I'd done to other people, make amends for things that I've done.
Yeah, part of your steps, your 12 steps.
Yeah, and when I look back at that, it's rough because you really don't want to look at that stuff.
But how important was it to your recovery?
It was the foundation.
It was.
Yeah, the whole 12 steps is my foundation.
The whole 12 steps. There's nothing in there that's stronger,
just like right now,
than the other one.
Right. Just like right now, to me, this is 12-step work. Because I'm trying to reach to somebody to say, hey, man, there's help. There's hope. You ain't got to do what I did. You know what I mean? There is help out there. Even if it, pick up a phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, you can call me. We
had a bartender that worked here, Savannah. You probably know her. I'm sure you know her. She's posted on here already. Give us your mini lead, she said. Savannah, a little short girl. But she's going through it. Like, she's going through all this now. Like, I'm not saying she's not sober right now. She is, certainly. But I see it. It's different on her. She looks good. She looks healthy, that's for sure. A lot healthier than she looked before. But yeah, she's doing a great job with it, it seems like. And I mean, I can't find anybody that says she's went and did anything she wasn't supposed to. And
if I could say anything,
she is doing a good job, I think.
You're right about that. And she's surrounding herself with good people.
And that's good. And that's hard for her because her best friend is her brother.
Now, see, I can't be talking about people.
I'm not asking you to.
You know what I mean? That's why I'm just looking
I'm telling you what I see, and I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
I think she's doing a great job. I root for her every day.
Yeah, I'm proud of her, really too. I've seen her come through.
I've actually seen her come in here and eat with one of the bartenders here and grab something to drink, and I'm looking at it, I've zoomed on the camera, but it's always been non-alcohol or whatever. But I've looked, like, I've made sure, because I'm like, I hope she doesn't. I don't want her to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really don't. I think she would, she didn't have kids or anything. So for her to realize this prior to having kids, that's a big deal. That to me is huge, because, I mean, without kids, I don't know. Without a wife and kids, I mean, what do you sober up for?
Yeah,
it's
there's
tough.
no accountability.
Yeah,
you don't have no accountability.
Right,
like, I gotta go pick a kid up from school.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing.
Or the old man.
You're doing that just solely on your, like, trying to better things. I think that's true. That's strong. That's strong suit.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, you gotta get clean and sober for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't do it for your job. You can't do it for your wife. Can't do it for your kids. I tried. I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, I had to do it for me. Because when it comes down to it, that accountability. You know, my wife travels for work, you know, and, you know, in the beginning, you know, the thought will come through your mind like, well, nobody will know. Wife ain't home. Nobody will know.
Sneak one in.
Yeah, I could sneak
You thought
one in.
about that, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Oh, I thought that. In the beginning, in the very
After you got out.
After I got out. And that's just the disease part of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you fought it off.
Oh, yeah. You know what I
once even
did? I
slipped?
picked up the phone. No.
That's all so awesome.
You know,
that is awesome.
That's continuous sobriety, and it's the best thing I've ever done. But you know, you get that. I mean, you get that. Nobody would know. You know that. I mean, that accountability. But you know who would know? I would know.
Right.
And then
they would know eventually.
Yeah, because it ain't gonna stop with that.
Yeah, it's not.
That's not gonna stop with that. You know, and my thing is too. I like everybody to know that I quit drinking. I just like St. Lads, they all know I quit drinking. Everybody I talk to knows I quit drinking.
Yeah.
That keeps me more accountable. You know what I mean? That way it's just like, oh, they can see me, you know? Just like...
Well, it's weird to me, like I seen Savannah being goofy.
So I've seen her here when she worked here, but never got to know her.
I've never seen her be absolutely crazy, but I knew she'd be wrecking her car in the woods, and I knew she was nuts. I knew that. I knew that for sure. But like with you, I never had, like, I didn't know you were off the deep end. I had no clue. I really never did. I mean, it's like there's people that you see that are off in the deep end.
And you can see it.
Yeah, and you can see it. And I never did with you. And that's like, that's crazy to think that there's somebody like that's keeping it together. And yet inside it's all fucked up.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like that to me, it says a lot. It says a lot about mental health, everything. It says a lot. Yeah. I mean, it really does, because I would have never guessed in a million years. I'll be honest, I don't even know that I knew you had sobered up until you messaged me that. But I feel like you said something to me once before, and I just was like, okay, and I didn't think too much about it.
This is the first time I've been in here since.
Yeah.
You know, so if anything, I thought, you know, I messaged you on Facebook when you're doing your podcast. I'll say good morning, gents, on Sunday mornings, and you know, I think I gave that councilman a little bit of a hard time.
Did you?
Yeah, like, hey man, there's help out there, man. You know, oh, what are you saying? I don't know. What do you think I'm saying? You know, you know. And that's the stuff that, you know, it's the shit that happens, you know. I always try to keep myself in the front forth of, you know, when I'm out here running around in these streets, my dad's always told me that's my last name on your back. So when you're out there fucking off, you know, don't think I'm not going to know, and you're ruining our name.
Yeah, right.
You know, so every time I was out and about, man, I always knew that I was, you know, representing my family.
Yeah, right.
Just like my dad did in the mill, you know, he represented.
Right.
You know, and he never acted out. My dad never got a DUI or nothing like that. You know?
Yeah, him, Jim Perry, those guys were like even killed.
Cops used to follow Dad home back in the day, you know, and just honk the horn, hit the light, and then, you know, let him go, you know.
My dad, I got pulled over. I was 12 years old. I'm driving a Monza in West Virginia in the hills. And I get pulled over. I'm not doing a very good job at stick shift. And I get pulled over by the police. My dad's drunk as shit in the passenger seat. Probably about 25 minutes from home on 45-mile-an-hour curvy roads in West Virginia. And the cop goes, "What's going on?" And I said, he's drunk. You know, the cop goes, "All right, get him home." And he just followed me all the way home. I'm 12 fucking years old, dude.
Yeah,
West Virginia's a different world, man.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Back then, especially.
It still is, if you're getting the right hollers.
Well, this is the same. He's there. I've got to go this weekend, actually. I'm going this weekend to...
Helping your dad move?
Yeah, help him move back down here this weekend. He's moving back up here from down there. And I'm glad, because he's getting sick. It's too hard when something happens to have to go back and forth and everything. It'd be nice to have him close by if he needs me, or just anything. Like, you know what I mean?
It's just nice to have him there.
It is.
know?
It is for sure. It is. And he doesn't drink anymore. Of course, they're on so many. I mean, they're old, so there's so many pills in them.
Yeah,
Who knows what
they're already.
They probably don't need them.
Yeah, they're already.
Probably doesn't need the alcohol.
They're medicated. They're medicated.
Yeah, right. He never really did the 12 steps or anything. I thought he was sober for a little while. I thought he wasn't drinking on a job. When he came down here years ago, and he came to work for my construction company. He was living in West Virginia, come down, work for my construction company. And I thought when he first got there, I got to keep an eye. He's going to fucking drink, you know. And I'm in commercial. Like, they don't fuck around with that shit, you know. I mean, and then especially nowadays, they got, you know, safety guys and they're vested and all. So, I mean, they just don't fuck around with this shit. And I thought and I watched over him for like 6 weeks and he was doing good. They never seen him drink or nothing, you know. I relaxed. Next thing I'm gonna know, I'm in Janan and Herner's office. Everybody in their company around the oval table, me and Brandon were down there, and they're telling me, they're not saying your employee's drinking on the job. They're showing me pictures, you know, and it's your dad. And I'm like, motherfuck, man.
Yeah.
He's literally running. I mean, we were doing the cancer center. He's literally drinking while he's as close to the highway as maybe 10 feet from the highway. And just bottle of beer in his hand and running a crane, flying trusses. Like, what the fuck is the matter with you?
We used to do that at PC Campana. The overhead crane.
Yeah.
We used to blow lines on the control panel there and drink right while we was going from one end, taking the ladle to the other end.
No shit, really?
Yeah, well, I worked with Franco and that, you know, Franco Asbury and all them guys. So it was really easy to do, you know.
No kidding.
Yeah. Wow. There was one time I was working.
I feel like I lived a sheltered life almost, to some degree.
I don't
as an adult. As a kid, I see
well,
shit.
you matured. You know, you matured and you did the right things. You know,
somewhat.
Well, I mean, you had your business with your drop ceilings.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you had your business, and then you got this business, you know, and you're doing well. You've been here for a while. You know, I didn't have none of that stuff. I was a blue collar. I just worked hard, partied hard, and played hard.
Yeah.
You know, responsibilities, I neglected them. You know, I could have done more for my kids. I think if I wouldn't have drank as much as I did, I might have been married to the first and maybe the second wife still. Who knows? You know, but I'm on my third wife now, you know.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The first two you think left you for drinking?
Well, there's drinking involved. I don't know if it was far deep into the addiction.
Right.
You know, but, you know, drinking makes you do and say things that you wish you wouldn't have said or did, you know, and there's a lot. And when you say things, you just can't take it back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we give it in buckets and we get it back in drops.
Yeah,
you know, and, you know, you're sitting there and you say things and, you know, it doesn't go away, you know. So I'm sure a lot of that had parts to do with it, you know, that, and I was very self-centered, you know, it was my way or the highway, you know.
Yeah, right.
Especially when I had my second son, or when I had my son, my second kid, it was my way or the highway, you know, because I was already taking care of business on my own, you know. So if I was dating somebody and they would have a different opinion or want to change something, you're like, no, you ain't doing that, you know.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. I mean, at that point, though, you're looking out for your kid. I mean, that's not really all that selfish. I mean, that's, you know.
Well, it's all can be, you know. It can be.
It can be.
It can be, you know.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming and sharing your story. I really do. I hope you help somebody.
You know, and that's what I like to say, man.
At least one person, I hope, gets help.
Just
that's all I'd like to see.
Yeah, you know, you'll be surprised. You know, maybe just knowing that, hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing that it does get better, man. Life is good.
Yeah.
You know, life is good. You know, I get to do now what I couldn't do before. You know, I pick up my grandkids from school. I hang out with my grandkids. Before, I was at the bar.
Yeah. You ever played disc golf?
No.
They got one at Oakwood Park.
I saw that. Oh, I saw a chain something.
Yeah, Oakwood Park, they got one now. We're going to do a tournament there July 19th. We're going to do one. Like 9 in the morning, we're going to go there and do one.
Really?
Yeah, Madhouse is sponsoring it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, one thing I did do.
Fun. It was fun. I mean, it was good exercise and it was fun. We
Yeah.
went and did it.
Did you know that hill? Did you
Yeah.
know how that hill at Oakwood Park? You know how that formed? When they started making the roads in the rain for the steel mill, when they had that steel mill going, that's putting all these homes, all the dirt from making the roads went to that, made that hill at Oakwood Park.
Really? Our
That's-
sledding hill? That's what
yeah,
it is? It was just the leftovers.
That was all scrapings to make roads.
And that's just our sledding hill.
And that, yeah, I found that out. I was like, no way,
That's
man.
pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I didn't know that.
That's pretty cool,
You
though.
know,
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting.
Still there today.
Still
In fact,
there today.
one of the golf things you launch, you tee off of there. One of the
You
disc
tee
golf.
off of that?
Yeah, one of the disc golf things. It's
Wow.
kind of fun. You might enjoy it. I enjoyed it when I went. Me and Dylan went like probably a couple weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks. I don't know, but we've got one going July 19th, and it's pretty cool. I like it. I think Dylan wants to go again.
Are you doing that dog thing this year?
We did not. No, he
that
just
already
reached
gone?
out to me. Yeah, he just reached out to me to go do that. Yeah, but we didn't get a chance to do it.
That's one thing I got whenever I got sober. Is I got an English bulldog.
Oh, really?
An old English bulldog. Dog I always wanted. I call it my sober dog because now when I get bored, I take him for a walk.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Good and healthy.
Yeah, it's good and healthy. He gets a walk. I get out of my own head. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Dogs are amazing. I love it. We just got a new one about a year ago. It's a fluffy Frenchie.
oh yeah,
So it's a French bulldog or whatever, but it's a
Yeah.
little tiny fluffy thing. Like it's got long hair.
is it hyper?
No,
Yeah, I
mine
heard
is
them French
amazing.
bulldogs are really
Not
hyper.
this one though.
No?
Like my buddy, that the one that I did a podcast with him. The one that he actually wrote that book right there, Don Fuzzi. He's got one that I went over his house and I was like, holy shit! Like that thing had more energy than I've ever seen in my. Like it was like a Dalmatian or something. Like it was insane. Like dude, calm the hell down. It wouldn't stop. It just would not stop.
Yeah, I
Cute
got
as a button, but
My
it would
buddy
not
of mine's
stop.
got one. He has to medicate it to calm it down. He has to give it like Xanax.
Yeah, see, he would never do that. He doesn't.
I don't want that.
He believes in like Hindu and like he like eats vegan. Like he's real clean. Like he would never allow something like that to happen.
Yeah, I could
Not to
see.
his dog. Yeah, he doesn't do drugs, anything like.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I got me a fat, lazy dog, man. He just lays drunk, gets mad at you, just side-eyes you, you know?
I mean, she does that. She does have enough energy where she looks bored half the time when we're not playing with her. She
Yeah.
wants to play a lot, but she's definitely not hyper. I would definitely not call her hyper. Unless another dog comes around, then she can get hyper, just run around playing. But other
Right.
than that, she's not very hyper. She's pretty chill.
Do you have many people on that chat? Just Savannah?
Savannah was on there, and actually Kyle that I was talking about, he said, thank you for sharing the story. I do hear you. I truly appreciate your concern.
Hey, there's that one.
I don't think it's going to be him. I mean, I could be wrong. Jason's too. Amanda just said Jason's too. So Jason's. Oh yeah, that's right. She's right. Jason's was hyper. Jason had a French bulldog. Another friend of mine, he brought it over. He was doing work at the house over there, and he brought it over, and it was hyper too. But Jason's doesn't compare to Fuzi's at all, Amanda. Not even close.
You know, it got to a point where, remember whenever we were out and I come across you up at St. Lad's and your wife was with you and he's like, hey, you know him. He was the one that got sick out in the parking lot.
That's how I had to explain who was going to be on the podcast this morning.
See what I mean?
Terrible.
That's the reputation that I have.
That's only one bad thing that you ever did.
Oh, I know, but still, I mean,
I tried to explain you other ways first, but
you remember the guy that got sick and how had to bring us some water?
yeah.
And,
Well, it shocked me so much at the time. I didn't know that was. And she brought up a good point. Why did you puke? Most alcoholics don't have that issue. They just keep going.
well, because my wife was out of town.
Oh, you were going hard.
And I was going
I
hard,
see.
man.
Okay.
I was ordering buckets of beer at a time,
Yeah.
nonstop
Yeah,
shots.
you were going hard.
Yeah, and it didn't take long. And then got sick to make room for more, you know, because
I mean, you think you think that's a horrible thing, but then you see that like Long Beach killer. Did you see that guy?
Mm-mm.
His wife would go out of town, and he was freaking murdering women. So you weren't doing all that.
I wasn't doing all that. Thanks for that, you know.
You weren't doing all that bad. You puked. So what?
Yeah. So
Everybody
what?
lived.
Yeah, you got to remember me somehow.
But I do appreciate you showing it. If there is somebody out there right now that really wants to reach out and wants help, what do you suggest?
Well, there's a hotline you can call.
And what's that number?
That I don't know offhand.
Can we Google it right now?
Yeah, you can Google that. You can Google that.
What do I Google?
Probably AA.
AA.
Near me to be like the central office. I've called that number on the central office. I called that number twice and hung up.
Well, the suicide crisis hotline is 988. Right? That's what it says right away, 988. And that's something I guess we need to talk about too. I mean, or put out there too, because that was the issue you had. That you had a gun in your mouth.
Well,
I mean, that's something that could. I'm trying to find one way to get a hold of it. There is a number though, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you, I'm a little disappointed. I should have Googled AA and had a number immediately.
I'm disappointed.
And instead I don't.
I should have too. But I wasn't coming in here to talk about AA.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about right now. I Googled it.
Right.
And I don't have a number for it. That's bad on their part. If I'm being honest. I mean, if I Google AA, I need that damn number.
Yeah.
I mean, I need that number. Here's Meeting Finder. I can give you that. It's 866-644-0338. But I don't have another number. Now I found that one. But yeah, that was not easy to find. And that's
the other number.
A little annoying.
If you get to the point where you're really desperate and you really want to change your ways, there's a number you can call that could help you out, and that's 440-396-9249. You can call me anytime. I'm always available to talk to. I can get you in the right direction. You know, I could do whatever we can to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere other than that, you know, I'm always out there. I'm very active in my program. You know, like I said, I'm always up at the treatment centers. There's 3 of them here that I go up to quite a bit.
Yeah.
And hang out, talk up there, you know, and do leads and stuff out there, you know.
Awesome. I can't believe he put his real number out there. You see that?
It's a real thing,
Hey,
man.
Jeff.
It's a real thing.
I'm in trouble. And that's all you got to do, right?
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
I love it.
I'm there, man.
Thanks for sharing, bud.
Thanks.
We're getting out of here.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Bar talk, where the drinks stay spittin'. Views going wild like a monkey gone rogue, running his own lane in a circus of smoke. Guido hit the eject, dipped out the scene. Jimmy steered the chaos, kept it lean and mean. No co-pilot needed. He thrives in the clash. Controversies, the stash. Raking views with a dash. Madness on the mic, sipping truth like it's gin every episode.